All right, we are live. So let me send out an alert to Everon. Because he's a Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Builds a web, catches flies, eats those crooks. Okay. Just sending out an alert to everyone right now that we are on the air. Okay, it's to critical thinking. I'm just getting the email addresses for the folks in my ethics course. Getting that. Okay. Q classes, video chat, live now. I guess that's, I should say, video chat live now. Let me put in the link. Hello, Bridget. Say Spider-Man here. There's Abdullah. Good to see you, Abdullah. There's Esmeralda. Good to see you, Esmeralda. There's Kenneth. Hey, good to see you, Kenneth. I'm just sending out info for everyone, so everyone knows what we're doing right now. Okay, paste. Okay, so there's the link for that. Okay, there's the link for that. Okay, Q classes. All right, live. Let's say here, chat live now. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right, the message has been sent out. All right. Hello, Gabriel. How's my favorite professor doing? I don't know. If I see him, I'll ask him. I'm kidding. That's very nice of you, Gabriel. Okay, how's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Say, week 4 or 5. Who's keeping track any longer of how long it's been since we decided to close down the school? I certainly have not been keeping track of the days. If I remember rightly, it has been at least since mid-March, because we missed St. Patrick's Day. We weren't able to share St. Patrick's Day together, so I'm very sorry for that. Okay. All right. So it's going to be like last time. It's going to be like last Friday, where I'm going to be here for 2 hours until 3:30 to answer any questions, to engage in any, say, with any concerns you have, to get conversation started about the topics that we are going over in our courses. And and also just trying keeping morale up is also very important too. So if there's anything at all that you want to talk about, anything all that's going on that doesn't necessarily have to do with any of our courses, very happy to talk about that too. Okay. All right. Esmeralda says my little brother's school won't open until next year. Well, next academic year. It's not that the plan is to keep schools closed until 2021. It's that schools will be closed until fall. So that's actually something that I think needs to be addressed right now. There is a rumor going around that the schools are going to be closed for the year. But the thing is, that say what the governor is doing, he's closing the schools for the academic year, not the whole calendar year. So schools are going to be remain closed until the end of the semester. We're probably going to have them closed for the summer session too. We'll have online courses for summer session. But as far as fall is concerned, as far as the fall 2020 semester is concerned, we are still planning on having the campus open. You know, we're just seeing how long we can hold back on making the decision to do remote instruction for fall 2020 as well. Say until then, act as if campus will be open fall 2020. Probably will be remote instruction for the summer session, but as far as we're concerned, we will be opened for the fall 2020 semester. We'll just see. We'll just see, but we're not having the schools closed for fall 2020. That's not something that we have planned right now. It may change depending upon how we're able to manage the infections, bring them down, because as Dr. Anthony Fauci said, we're on the virus's timeline. You know, the virus is not on our timeline. But as far as what we have planned right now, fall 2020 is open. Okay, but with maybe your kid's schools decided to have it closed until the actual calendar year, but the governor's mandate only has to do with the academic year, which ends at the end of this semester. Okay. Gabriel says it feels like Groundhog Day. Yeah, I've been getting that feeling too. Thankfully, I'm not waking up every morning to Sonny and Cher, so that is a plus. I do miss living in Pennsylvania, though. I wouldn't mind waking up every day in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, for a while. I love Pennsylvania. I love living there. If prices stay as they are here in California, I may end up working back over there instead of staying here. I prefer to stay here in California. But if they're able to get the prices down in Pennsylvania, I may have to move back. Bridget Bader, can I still take the Chapter 3 quiz if I didn't already? Well, sure. You know, this is a time where I think that being a hard ass probably isn't the best way to go. I will if you don't do the quiz, I'm not going to give you the grade for it, but I will give you opportunity to do the quiz. Okay, so Bridget, please send me an email regarding that. And I'll resend you the quiz and, email the answers back to me. Okay. Yeah. For ethics. You got it. Willie asks, how have you been doing? How are the cats? Oh, did I tell you about the cats that I feed downstairs? They're doing all right. As a matter of fact, this big sassy cat came over and started making trouble last night. I heard these aggressive meows outside. These wow! I looked out there and I just saw this big black cat just ambling its way away. I guess they scared it off. So yeah, the cats are doing fine. I named one of them Nibbles, and the other ones they're house cats. They're staying inside, but little Nibbles is doing okay. He's the outside cat. Okay, Abdullah, can I also get a chance to do the quiz on me email? Yes, Abdullah. Abdullah, email me. Email me a reminder that you want to do the quiz, and I'll send you the quiz. Okay, Bridget says thanks. Bridget says they should be a part of live. Well, we'll see how things go. Maybe I can't. I'm on the second floor of my apartment building. So it's gonna be difficult to do that, but maybe I can bring the laptop out there and see if I can find them. I'll share some pictures. I'll take some snaps of the cats and I'll show you guys. I'll show you little Nibbles. He's been left here since his owner died. There was an old man who lived here who took care of this cat. And when he passed on, no one picked up the cat, so the cat just stuck around here. And so we've been leaving food out for him. Most of the people in my apartment building will leave little bits of food, a little cat treats and whatnot out for him. Okay. Kenneth says, would you please send me my score for the quiz? Kenneth, I don't think I got your quiz answers. If you sent me the quiz answers, send them to me again. Kind of like, forward them back to me, and I'll get you the score for your quiz. Okay, so I apologize if I missed it. I'm dealing with so many emails right now, so it's slower than usual getting back to you guys. But say, keep if you don't see emails from me in a timely fashion, like a day after you send it, be sure to send me a reminder. Be sure to send me a reminder, and I'll get back to that as a top priority email. Okay, so Kenneth, send me your answers again, and I'll send you a grade for that, because right now we don't have a grade for you. Okay. Esmeralda says, I accidentally adopted a cat. Her name is Ruby, and I can't bring in. She sleeps behind the grill. Aww. Yeah, this is a cat-friendly apartment, but unfortunately, I just don't have enough to take care of a cat of my own. There would have to be a slight increase in my rent, which I can't afford right now. So right now, I'm just doing what I can to take care of little Nibbles downstairs. Make sure that he's got plenty to eat, and make sure that he's high and dry when the rains come. By the way, we are expecting rain this coming week, so watch out for that. Okay. Gabriel, did you get my email about my quiz answers? Let me check on that. Okay. Yes, Gabriel. Yes, I did get your quiz answers. I see them right here in my campus email. Okay, so I will get to that today after we do the live stream. Okay, so good job for staying on top of that, Gabriel. All right, so we should talk a little bit. A little bit. This is the purpose of the stream. Mostly is to talk about, say, stuff for the classes. So we'll talk a little bit to the people in my ethics course. But if anyone here is from critical thinking, I know Gabriel is here from critical thinking, you can always chime in with a critical thinking question. And then at 2:30, we'll transition more or less formally into the critical thinking part of the stream. So does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns about the what we have gone over so far on utilitarianism? I sent out some lecture notes yesterday, and I posted a video lecture. I know it went up late. But when you get the chance, be sure to check that out if you can. Listen to it in the background if that's something that you like to do when you work. That should be fine. So does anyone have any, say, questions about, say, utilitarianism and how we would apply it to various topics? So far, we've applied it to euthanasia. We've applied it to recreational drug use. And we've very recently, we're talking about animal rights. So does anyone have any questions about that? Or maybe another way that we can talk about, say, how we can apply utilitarian ethics? Because it's certainly not just limited to those three topics. I was kind of, in the video portion of the lecture, more than the written note portion of the lecture, I talked a little bit about, say, maybe the problems that come up when we discuss things like taking care of people with developmental disabilities in our educational system, or how much time, energy, and concern should we extend to people who have developmental disabilities with the kind of utilitarian framework, with the kind of like trying to evaluate, say, the pros and cons of it in terms of how much pleasure versus how much pain we would likely gain from it. Okay, so does anyone have any questions regarding that? By the way, while you're thinking of questions, I just want to remind you that we are dropping assignment 3, and that is both for the ethics course as well as the critical thinking course. And when I say dropping, I mean actually that I am just going to be giving everyone credit for having done it. You know, everyone will get the full score, the full 10 points for assignment 3. And I did that because, you know, number one, I forgot to send out the assignment on time, so I apologize for that. And number two, I figured, you know, we need a little treat. We need a little we're all under lockdown treat right now. So I thought that would be a nice treat. Okay. Also, we do have a midterm coming up after the spring break. So that's why I sent out that email saying that the stream I had planned for this coming Tuesday is canceled because of the fact that we are going into spring break, and I'm not supposed to be, you know, doing this, you know, working with you guys as if we're in a classroom during spring break. When we come back from spring break, I will be doing Tuesdays as well as Fridays for a live stream. So we'll have live streams on both Tuesdays and Fridays. But we're going to have the spring break, and also when we come back from spring break, we're going to have the midterm. The midterm is going to be on the 14th. So looking at my calendar, that is going to be on the first Tuesday that we come back. So on the day in which we will do the live stream, I will send out the midterm after we do the live stream. And I'll give you guys several days. I'll give you guys maybe to the end of the week to do the midterm. And the midterm will be, and this is both for the ethics course as well as the critical thinking course. So the midterm will consist of 2 essay portions as well as a multiple choice portion. And you'll respond to the multiple choice portion the same way that you did for the quiz. You know, just emailing me the letter answers back. And for the essay portion, well, we'll get into that. I'll be sending out to you guys today a study guide for the midterm. And I will include in there the essays, the essay topics. That way you can start working on that, working on how you would respond to that before you take the midterm. Okay. So Jeff has a question. Not Jeff. Kenneth has a question. How would the utilitarians look at caring for the elderly or for your parents? That's a very good question. And I think they would look at it this way. And this actually kind of speaks a little bit to the problems of utilitarianism, I think. And that's that people, although we value we say that we have to be concerned for people because people feel pleasure and pain, and so do animals, say the reason why we should be concerned for them ultimately comes back to, say, the kind of benefits that we get out of it. That if we are cruel to someone, this will turn me into a crueler person. And if I'm a crueler person, I will experience more pain than pleasure in my life. So it is better for my own enjoyment of pleasure to be a nicer person than a crueler person. And when it comes to, say, caring for the elderly, we have to see, say, of how much pleasure they can get out of proper care, but also how much pleasure we're going to be able to get for ourselves through proper care. Now, the benefits that the utilitarians would look at when it comes to, say, the care for the elderly is that, say, elderly people have a great repository of knowledge and experience. You know, they've been able to deal not only with say, circumstances of the world longer than we have, but also, you know, just they have had say, more emotional experiences that we have, more experiences with relationships than we have. That's why, you know, we want to go to an older person for advice about things. You know, grandmom, does it sound like this person's really in love with me? Grandmom, I'm getting weird letters from this guy. Is this cute or is this creepy? So, you know, they've got a vast store of knowledge, wisdom, and experience to impart to us. So we can get by that. That's one way in which our pleasure is increased. We also have the pleasure of their company, the pleasure of feeling connected with the past. I know that, say, when my grandmother, who a few years ago passed away at the age of 95, but knowing her, I always felt a strong sense of connection to the past when I was with her, because not only did she was she in the Women's Auxiliary Corps in World War II, not only did she raise a family during the great post-war period in American history, but even before the Second World War, trouble. She was old enough to. Oh, darn it! We're doing it again. Okay. In Veterans Day. Hold on just a second, please. I'll be right back. This would have no interference with the internet connection, would it? No, I didn't think so. Okay, I'm back. All right, so hopefully that was just a little bit of a little, maybe too strong of a breeze blowing through the internet connection. Okay, anyway, so it always fascinated me that, say, my grandmother was connected to, say, even a remote past of American history, because in her childhood, she also knew very elderly people, the old Civil War veterans who would march in Veterans Day parades down the streets of Philadelphia, where she lived. So, you have all these opportunities to gain by that. But also, there is pain involved as well. When a person gets very old, they're more susceptible to illness, to injury. Their mental faculties may be slowing down. They may be getting more confused. They may be getting more foggy in the head. They might start to incur a lot of cost for care. You're not there to take care of them all the time, because you also have to work, and you have to spend time with your the family that you started. So caring for the elderly is going to be a mixed bag, like most things, a mixed bag between pleasure and pain. And the question is, to what extent would, caring be too much pain and not enough pleasure? And I think, on the whole, because we are dealing with human beings, we don't want to kind of make ourselves used to the idea of just treating them as being expendable. Just like we don't want to get used to being cruel to animals, we don't want to get used to the idea that human beings can just be gotten rid of when they become a liability, a nuisance, or even just requiring a great deal of care and time. So I think, on the whole, although it can become quite painful and quite inconvenient, let's face it, to take care of elderly people, that we should still do that, because by not taking care of them, we would not only feel guilt, we would not only feel remorse for not having done enough for a person while they were alive, not making them feel as comfortable as we could, but we also will kind of like create a precedent where we would feel like, that a person can just be gotten rid of when they are becoming a nuisance, which will play back to, which will come back to you, because you will be getting old and you will be getting sick. So you also want to kind of like look out, as to what that precedent would mean for yourself in the end as well. So in terms of the utility of taking care of elderly people, I think, it's kind of like, keep them going and keep them as comfortable as you can. That will be more beneficial than not taking care of them. That's how I think things would balance out. Now, this will also tie in with what we were talking about with euthanasia earlier, in that, it could be up to that older person to decide that, I'm in so much pain, I'm being so much of a burden on other people in terms of care. Maybe it's time to bow out. Maybe it's time to go. So the utilitarian would say, entirely up to them when it comes to something like that. So once again, the utilitarian is looking at the results of our decisions, whether that result is going to have the kind of like beneficial consequences that we would want for ourselves as well as for others. And the reason why we want them for others is because it would also benefit ourselves. Okay. Let's see here. Kenneth, let me know if that's good. Okay. I found that the benefits far outweigh the displeasures. Yeah, I'm glad you think so. I would agree with you I would agree that, say, it's important to take care of people for reasons that are not utilitarian, but I think that even if you put kind of like a cost benefit analysis to it, which is what utilitarians do, that on the whole it is better to take care of them. Now, the interesting thing that we have to consider is the fact that, say, that like Japan has a growing population of elderly people, and there's not enough people around willing to take care of them. And also people are living longer. So you're having more older people living longer and less people volunteering or just kind of like, putting themselves available to take care of them. So one of the problems we're going to have to face is that if we agree that it's better to keep old people comfortable and happy while they are alive and for as long as they can be alive, we are going to have to face problems in how to successfully keep them cared for. Now, one of the things that they're doing in Japan is, say, for elderly people with dementia, they're giving them robot dolls, little robot dolls that respond to them, and it keeps them happy and mentally engaged, and actually an improvement on their life. Now, a lot of people don't like this because they say, well, why should we just put old people in the care of robots? That's not good. But the thing is that if people aren't signing up to work for the care of the old and the sick, we don't have that many options left unless we require, that we have kind of like we have it as kind of like a requirement, just like in other countries where you have a requirement to do your 2 years of military service or your 2 years of civil service, that we make it a requirement that, say, that when you get to be a certain age, you have to do this, because it's going to get to a point where we decide, whether we just to kind of like put all these old people, these sick people in the care of non-humans, or get more humans to take care of them. And I would actually kind of like want to go more in that direction of actually getting people to take care of them, legally compelled to do that, because I think that's a benefit. I think that's a benefit if we just want to talk about, say, the kind of training that does for a person, and that kind of preparedness that it does for a person, and facing their own inevitably aging body, aging mind, aging spirit. That's a very good thing for them. And also, it's a good training for, say, to be caring and compassionate, which not everyone gets. So these are decisions we'll have to face down the road, but I'm glad you agree, Kenneth. All right, let me just read some of the things that are in the chat right now. Thanks for this. I've been stressed since core currency. Esmeralda's been working as an essential employee. Oh boy, so that does put you in a very stressful situation, Esmeralda, because that means that you've got to. If you got a kid to take care of, and also you got to work too. So that's a big responsibility. And that's a lot of energy being required from you right now. Hopefully, say, that work is finding some kind of ways to take some of the stress off of you, because that's a big deal. Abdullah says, "Wow, ethics class kind of dark." You bet it is, Abdullah, because in ethics we got to talk about, say, what we do in the context of an entire lifetime. Once we become able to make responsible decisions, we have to realize that, say, those are decisions that are going to affect, say, us for as long as we live, and for other people as long as they live. And so we have to take into consideration the fact to say that people don't live forever, that people will die, and that they may die quicker and sadder based on some of our decisions, and they may also die farther down the road and maybe much happier according to our decisions. So ethics takes in consideration the way that, say, decisions, our actions, our thoughts and behavior affect the whole of a person's lifetime, as well as say the lifetime of people beyond just ourselves. Okay. Okay. All right. So I got a nice sign from Kenneth there. Thank you, Kenneth. Okay. So any other questions? That's a very good one about say the importance of taking care of people, taking care of elderly people. Now, here's another question. What about prisoners? What about taking care of people who are imprisoned? What is the role of punishment or the role of being sent to jail? Is it just to punish someone, or is it to find ways to, make them better functioning people within a society? Now, there's a number of problems there. Number one, you can teach a person to be as well functioning as possible, but if you send them back to the same situation that they were in before, it doesn't do them all that much good. You can say to a person, we've taught you all kinds of handcrafts. We gave you some therapy. We're dealing with your anger issues. Now go back to that impoverished, crime-ridden area that you came out of, and we hope we'll never see you again. So, it can make a difference, of course, that you send, say, people back to an area where they are better equipped to deal with problems in a practical way, but they really don't teach that in prison. They really don't teach that. Say, if they did, we might see more of a difference in the kind of the quality of the situation that is being sent back there. But it still doesn't make that much of a difference if people are not willing to invest in those areas of the city that are crime-ridden and have a high poverty rate. So what are we supposed to do? If we're talking about, say, the good of the many, finding, say, the happiest, the greatest amount of happiness for the greatest amount of people, and we have to take into consideration of how much we lose by letting other people fall behind, how much are we actually doing for our own benefit? If it finally comes down to, how much does it benefit me, we have to ask ourselves, what am I losing by letting things stay the way they are? Okay. Bridget says, and so, I'll get to you, Bridget, in just a second. So my point is to say, that prisons are supposed to serve a certain kind of function in our society that is supposed to give us a sense of justice. It's supposed to give us a sense of, say, of wrongs being righted, say, people who deserve punishment getting punishment, but are they succeeding in giving what we want from them? Or should they also be going in a different direction? And if they do go in a different direction, how much will we have to change in society as a whole to to really, really make it effective? Because again, if we're utilitarians, we're looking at how effective things are. Because right now, all we're doing is taking people out of usually impoverished areas, treating them like they're subhuman beings for a number of years, and then putting them back into the same situation. This is why you have recidivism. This is why you have repeat offenders, because they don't gain that much from the prison experience except pain. We're just putting them through more pain and not giving them, say, much else besides pain, and then putting them back in a painful situation. So the utilitarian asks, how effective is this? Can we do something better? Okay. Bridget says, I think it would be great for people to care for the elders and see it as an opportunity to learn compassion. But what if they aren't willing and they mistreat their care, the people? Bye-bye, Esmeralda. Say, see you later. We'll see you Tuesday after the break. All right. Take care of yourself, Esmeralda. Okay. An opportunity to learn compassion, but what if the people still aren't willing and they mistreat or care? Okay. Say, this is where, you do need, say, a lot of oversight. And of course, when you have oversight, who is going to be, say, watching the watchers? Who's going to be guarding the guards? So it's a fair question, because we can't just count on people to do their job all the time. This is actually why I do think that, say, as inconvenient as it is, say, it's good to have, say, a democratic system as we do, because that at least is giving us some chance to demand responsibility from the people who are in power. Say, you actually have more chance to get away with corruption when you have no oversight from the entire population. So we do have to watch over these things. It's going to require vigilance. It's going to it is going to have to open up opportunities for these things might happen. There's no really way to 100% avoid it, I would say. Even if we put everyone in the care of robots, things can break down. And if we do that, it could be that that we lose a sense of what it means to be responsible for another person. If someone becomes an inconvenience, we'll just send them off and have a robot take care of them. Well, why don't we have robots take care of the kids? Why don't we have robots take care of the elderly? Why don't we have robots take care of my dogs, my cats when I'm away? It's important, I think, for us to stay engaged with the problem, including the problem of keeping people on their toes and acting responsibly in the job that they're supposed to be doing. So it's going to be messy, but it's going to be kind of like a thing where I think it's better to have the messiness and the potential for mistakes being made than to go in the other direction and have it so that we would lose a sense maybe of responsibility and the importance of being committed and compassionate to a person, when we also have the alternative of just making someone else do it or making something else do it. Now, there's another thing there. Now, what if, say, artificial intelligence, the way that it's portrayed in science fiction and movies, is achievable? What if we are able to create a system that is not only, say, self-aware, but sentient? Say, could this be, say, an opportunity for them to kind of like learn things like human compassion? In fact, it would, but it would have to be kind of like, something where we are working with them. We just couldn't leave everything in the hands of the robots. We would actually have to go like work with them so they gain a better understanding, and we would not lose a sense of our own understanding of what it means to be caring and compassionate. Okay. Kenneth says, I feel if you get sent to prison should be, and it's not just kind of like, dealing with your anger, but also giving you the kind of practical skills that you were not probably able to get in the school system of whatever environment you came out of. Because if it's from, say, a very underfunded inner city, it probably was a very bad school, say, got bad instructors, no one gave it any money, no one was really supervising it. And so, you should probably have that chance of getting that education that you didn't have before you went to prison. And I'm talking about, say, the majority of people who go to prison here in the United States. Not everyone, but the majority of people who go to prison, say, they are coming out of very poor, underfunded, underinvested areas, say, and they are going back into them when they are released. Where else can they go? We don't give you, say, a lot of money when you got out of prison, so you're not able to go very far from where you already came from. So I think there has to be something more done than just kind of like giving people the opportunity to better themselves in prison. We also have to make, say, the place that they're going back to better as well. We have to make it the kind of place where it would be more effective for a person who does have a lot of now know-how and training to turn that into an even better kind of place. So I'm saying that it's kind of like two hands working together. Say the hand of the people coming out of prison who are now have gained the skills to become, say, effective community leaders and so forth, as well as those who are actually willing from the outside to help them when they come out to better the community. Okay. All right, good point. We shouldn't allow people to lose compassion. I just watched The Freedom Riders. Okay, and Kenneth says that's exactly what I'm saying. All right. The Freedom Riders, yeah. So very good. And is that on Netflix right now, Bridget? Let me know where a person can still watch that, because that is a very good program. Okay, and Bridget also says, and yes, people need the skills and care they weren't given. We all learn different lessons to be better. This is very true. and we learned them. Okay, and Bridget says that the Freedom Riders is available to watch on Netflix. And that's a very good program. So, very, 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 very brave people. If we want to talk about, say, the decisions that can affect the lives of others, here are people who are putting their own lives on the lines, knowing that there's a very good chance that they will be brutally beaten or worse. But they do it anyway for the sake of not just themselves, but for the lives to come, for that next generation who now has a just slightly easier fight thanks to the sacrifices that they made before. So, it's a continuing battle. It's a continuing battle, but we don't have to battle for as much thanks to the people who went before us. Thank heavens. Okay. So Bridget says Netflix. Gabriel says it's a good movie. Oh, and it made you cry. Very good, Gabriel. I'm glad I'm not the only one here who watches movies and make them cry. I was watching a movie that made me cry the other day. I'm trying to remember what it was. What movie made me cry? I'll tell you this, though. Here's the thing that will guarantee to get me tearing up in a movie, and that's heroic self-sacrifice. So that ties into what we were just talking about. Say that moment where a character knows that they are not going to survive, but they do what they can in order for someone else to live and be well. And see, if you want to go back to utilitarianism, how would utilitarians deal with something like self-sacrifice? Because the way that utilitarians think is all about, say, how things are coming back to benefit us in our own lifetime. Now, what if we do actions that are going to be benefiting to people and we can never see them? We never see the results of what we do. We just hope that we'll have the effect that we would want, but we don't see it because we're dead. So how, if we can, say, find a utilitarian way of explaining or defending or criticizing self-sacrifice? Think of Bing Bong in Inside Out. Remember when Bing Bong sacrificed himself so that Amy Poehler could get her wagon on top of the cliff? Didn't that make you cry? Made me cry. I'll say, oh, Bing Bong. Okay. Avengers Endgame? Yes, I saw Avengers Endgame. So if you're talking, I think we're beyond spoiler territory here. So if you saw what happened to Tony Stark there, that's a very good example of that. And that was a marvelously heroic moment, a very, very satisfying way of concluding, say, not only the movie, but also that character, who went from being the most selfish man in the world to a selfless person when he snapped his fingers and the Infinity Gauntlet, just destroyed him, pretty much. But he knew that's what had to have happened at the death of Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was very effective. They didn't hold back on showing the pain that Jesus went through in the ways that it's described in the Gospels. And he got a lot of flack for that, but it's there in the book. Do you want a more sanitized version of it? Say, it's maybe more artfully done. Just have the sounds of Christ being whipped or hit with with beaten with sticks and whatnot, or have a crown of thorns put onto his head and nailed to a cross. Although they actually don't specify very much on, say, of how he was crucified. Say, if you look at the various forms of how the crucifixion is depicted, but still, it's a very, very painful way to go. So just maybe more artful. Just have the sounds of them, maybe the reaction of the people watching it. That could be effective. That actually is, say, more effective in horror movies, but it's certainly had an impact watching it too. Okay. Gabriel says, a certain someone knew that they had to sacrifice themselves for the good of humanity. That made me cry. Absolutely. Absolutely. Say, heroic self-sacrifice. I also think, too, in Moana, when Maui's hook is broken, and he doesn't have anything left to fight the big lava monster anymore, but he knows he's got to distract the lava monster from attacking Moana, and so he does his challenge dance. I wish I knew the appropriate Polynesian word for it, but it is supposed to be, say, kind of like something to say, I'm here, I'm challenging you, and he does that knowing that this is a foe far stronger than he is, and he's likely not going to come out of it. So, and he doesn't think twice to do it. Now that's a very good character arc as well, because Maui at the beginning of the movie is pretty much a has-been. So it's a redemptive story of a has-been hero becoming the person that he believes he is already. So that's always very good. Yeah, those are very good. Okay, so back to the let's see, how are we doing for time here? Okay, we got 15 minutes, 15 more minutes for doing ethics stuff. Okay, so going back to the questions maybe of animal rights, because that's something that we recently brought up. Now, is anyone here in the chat, say, a vegetarian or vegan, or has a lot of problems with the idea of eating meat? I do, even though I still eat meat. I don't think there's any real strong argument that I could make to defend me eating meat beyond me saying that I like meat. I like to eat meat. I like to eat cooked meat. But that's not much. That's not much of an argument. I'd say that's certainly not persuasive to me. Okay. All right. Bridget says, I'm on the same page as you. Oh, thank you, Bridget. Thank you. So when it comes to kind of like, animals, using animals for their flesh, you can also talk about, say, using animals for other things too. We do not need to use sheep's wool anymore in order to make clothing. We don't say, with our ability to make synthetic fibers and, say, other resources that we can use to make clothing, we don't need sheep's wool. We don't need cattle hide. We don't need leather, certainly, and other things too. That we're able to make things without, say, sacrificing the lives or the comfort of sentient creatures. So, is there anything to be said for the continuing to do so? Well, sheeps, of course, need some of that stuff cut off, or else they'll suffer from the weight of their wool. But we also have to recognize the fact that they were bred to produce that amount of wool. We can still breed them back in another direction where they're no longer producing just so much wool any longer. Okay. I'm just not okay with the way we mass produce meat. Yes, that is the biggest issue, and the utilitarians would get behind you on that. The utilitarians wouldn't necessarily say stop eating meat, period, because we do get enjoyment out of it. So we do have to ask ourselves, say, whether our enjoyment is more significant or more important than whatever kind of maybe momentary pain that animal would feel if it is raised in, say, a more humane environment, in, say, that it's not in a overcrowded factory farm or an overcrowded slaughter of life, up to the point that it's killed. Now, in a good amount of suffering, you slit that thing's throat, or you bash it over the head, so that it's insensate. When you kill it. Okay, but even then, even if we give them a certain kind of quality of life, is it still okay for us to take that life away, even if the animal does absolutely nothing but roll around in the mud and stick its snout through the dirt? And that's its idea of a good time, and we'll do that until its natural